If you're looking to go in a completely different direction from the factory headlights on your 18 and newer Mustang, well then you'll want to consider the Raxium LEDs that we have here today. Now these DOT approved Raxiums will combine a black housing with that clear lens, along with a very unique projector and daytime running light, all for right around that low $1,000 price point. Install, at least according to the site, it's going to get a middle of the road 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, simply because that bumper will need to come off in order to tackle the install. So because of that, just leave yourself a few hours to complete this thing from start to finish, as we'll demonstrate later in the video. So the 2018 and newer headlights are pretty awesome, right? But for some people out there, awesome just isn't quite enough. You want to be unique, and honestly, switching out to an aftermarket set of headlights, such as the Raxiums here, is a great way to really separate your S550 from the rest. Now, make no mistake about it, guys, this is about as big of a departure you can make from the stock headlights. You're ditching those tri-bar gills completely in favor of a single switchback DRL, along with swapping out the factory round style projector for a more angular option. And what do you say we start with that running light? Because to me, that is the biggest change here with the Raxiums. Now, instead of those telltale gills typically found on the stock headlights on the inner portion, the Raxiums here are going to feature that single diffused daytime running light that will run along the bottom of the entire housing. Now, on top of featuring a really cool bright white LED, it's also going to act, this portion here again, as a switchback light, which is going to give your headlights that sequential functionality for your turn signals along with your hazards. So basically what that means is anytime you fire up those turn signals or hazards, this white DRL will sequence in amber, which is certainly a very cool, very unique feature. But let's move on and talk about the projectors a little bit, because yes, just like the stock headlights, you still are maintaining the use of a factory low beam projector. However, as you guys can see, they are shaped completely different from your factory projectors. Now that's really not going to do much for your output. It's not going to make it better or worse per se. Instead, it's just going to make for a more unique appearance, which again, if that's what you're going for, these things really do deliver. Now your high beam, on the other hand, they're going to be on the inside here. They're sort of hidden, I would say, next to your low beam projectors on the outside. And they're hidden in a good way because they do blend nicely with the rest of the housing, and the entire package, I would say, does flow pretty well from an appearance standpoint. Now, speaking of those housings, guys, you are going to find a durable ABS black build topped off with that crystal clear polycarbonate lens, while the entire package has been sealed to prevent any moisture or condensation from entering. Finally, guys, these lights have been given both the DOT and SAE stamp of approval, and that just basically makes them legal for use in all 50 states. Now, for the most part, these lights from Raxium will feature a simple plug-and-play swap, with one lone exception here, guys. You will need to tap this yellow wire into your factory turn signals, and that's going to get the sequential functionality up and running here on the Raxiums. Now, because of this, and because that bumper does need to come off in order to complete the swap, site is going to kick this one up to a solid 2 out of 3 wrenches on the old difficulty meter. But now, to give you a better idea of just how this will all go down, feel free to check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
The tools you'll need for this project are a power ratchet and/or a small 1/4 inch ratchet, a universal joint, a 5.5 millimeter socket, a 7 millimeter socket, an 8 millimeter socket, a 10 millimeter socket, a 13 millimeter socket, a long extension, a pair of wire strippers and crimpers, and a couple of trim removal tools. You'll also need to source a couple of T-taps and a couple of spade bits. Hi everyone, today we're installing a set of headlights on our Mustang, but first, let's watch a short video on how to uninstall the stock headlights.
All right, so the first step in our install with your hood popped is to take off the rad support cover with a pop clip removal tool. Go ahead and line up each of these pop clips and take them out one by one. Then you can grab the cover and remove it off of your car. Next up, we're going to remove all of the bolts holding on our front bumper, starting with these small 5.5 millimeter bolts at either side. Grab a 5.5mm socket and a ratchet and get these off. Moving on to the next bolt, this one's an 8mm, so grab an 8mm socket and your ratchet, and let's get this off. Okay, so now we need to get access to the back of our bumper through the wheel well. We need to remove a pop clip that should be right here. Ours does not have one. Once that's removed, you just need to grab the liner and pull it back to expose two nuts right about here. All right, so right here, this may be hard to see while we're removing them, but these are the nuts that you want to remove in order to separate the bumper from the fender. Grab your 10mm socket and remove these nuts. All right, repeat that process on the other side. Now you can take more of the clips out to get more of the liner out. You can even take your wheel off if you'd like, but you can get to it without removing too many things, so we're gonna try to do that here. Grab your 10mm socket and remove the two nuts that hold your fender to your bumper. Again, you might not see these, but they're in the exact same location as the other side. All right, so at this point, we have the car in the air. Now you don't need a lift to do this. We just want to give you a better shot at the underneath of the car to see what you're supposed to be doing. Grab a 7mm socket. We're gonna remove all of the bolts that are holding on the bottom of the bumper. All right, so at this point we can release the side of the bumper. So right in between those two nuts that you took off, there is like a pop clip attached to a bracket. So you need to release this to release the bumper. You can go in from the side, but if you're concerned about the paint and you still have the wheel well liner out of the way, you can get at it from the back here. So just go in between the bracket and release it. Repeat that on the other side. All right, at this point, we can lift the bumper off the top of these posts up here to release it. Pull it down and out of the way, and you should be able to see several connectors. Locate the connectors holding on your bumper still. Go ahead and press and release them, one on each side. Repeat that on the other side. All right, now you can pull the bumper off of your car. So now the bolts holding on the headlight are exposed. We can use our 13mm socket to take off the one on the side. Grab a 10mm socket if you can find one for the bolt on top, closest to the rad support. Then there's one additional bolt all the way at the bottom underneath your headlight. Go ahead and wiggle your headlight loose. Release the connector on the back. And also release this clip that holds on the wiring harness.
Now we're ready to go ahead and install our new light. And you will notice that there's an extra wire here hanging down. This needs to be tied into our turn signal system. So we'll take care of that after we connect this and get it installed so that it's not just hanging around. We'll go ahead and hook up our connector first. And we'll use our original hardware just to attach it loosely so it doesn't fall out. Now we can attach a spade connector to our extra wire here. We're just going to strip a little bit off of the end, twist it a little bit so it doesn't fray, and put in our connector here. And then we'll just crimp it down, make sure that it's tight. Now, as you can see, on our other harness down here, we've already got some T-tap connectors on it. We've already done the research. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna connect this to the turn signal wire, which on our car is a yellow wire with a brown stripe. So we're just gonna plug that in and repeat that process for the other side. Then we can put our front bumper back on. Now before we actually tighten everything down and put it all back together, we've already connected all of our harnesses, and I recommend that you do the same and test out all your lights, make sure everything works as it should. We've already hooked up our harnesses and tested everything, it's all good to go. So now we'll go ahead and tighten down our lights using our 10mm socket and our 13mm socket. And now you can repeat that process for the other side. Now we can go ahead and lift our bumper back into place, and we'll secure it with the original hardware. Now we'll tighten them all down using our 8mm socket. Now we can go install the two on the ends, and we'll tighten them down with our 5.5mm socket. Now we'll go ahead and put our core support back on and reattach it using the original push pins. All right, so now we can put the side of our bumper up into our fender. Now you may find it easier to actually go down inside this way to put the nuts back onto the studs. It's a little bit blind, but you can see it if you look hard enough. Obviously our camera's not going to be able to get into this little space, but I find it's easier to do it this way than go through the fender well. Now you can use a long extension with a universal joint and your 10mm socket to reach down inside the top of the fender well here and tighten everything down. And repeat that for the other side. Now we can go reinstall our push pins inside the fender well that we took out earlier. And repeat that process for the other side. All right, now we can go ahead and pop our splash pan back up in place and secure it with the original hardware and tighten it with our 7mm socket. And that wraps up our review and install of the Raxium LED projector headlights with the black housing and the clear lens for our 18 and newer Mustang GT and EcoBoost. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.